Hello and welcome to the next episode of C++ for Noobs.
Yeah. Sorry about not recording for a while. There was things that kept coming up, stopping us from doing it, including forgetting.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. We finally remembered. Also, finally, there stopped being things in the way of it.
Yep. So we're ready now though to do our fourth episode. Today we're going to talk about if statements.
Yeah.
Okay, so we learned a little bit about variables, about how to print variables to the screen, how to read input from the keyboard into variables. Now we're going to learn about if statements. If statements are maybe the most important thing in programming. It would be hard to do anything useful without an if statement.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to include iostream, and I'm going to say using namespace standard so I don't have to put standard colon all over the place
Yeah, that
in my
sucks.
program.
Doing it. So it's good to do that.
Yeah, and I'm going to make a main function because, as we've learned, that's where C++ programs start. So if you want to do stuff, you got to have a main.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically an if statement looks like this. If, then some parentheses, and then some braces. Now, this if statement right here is not right because there's nothing inside of those parentheses.
Yeah, it doesn't even know anything.
Right. There's this idea in programming of Boolean logic.
Yeah.
So Boolean logic is all about true and false.
Yeah. Those are only things a Boolean variable can be.
That's right. Well, if statements take something that's Boolean in the parentheses.
Yeah.
So I could declare a Boolean. I could say bool foo equals true. Right? And then I could say if foo, and what'll happen is the code will go into the braces because foo is true. So if I say cout here, or let's see, in if, here, and I'm going to say G++, fourth, that's CPP minus O, fourth. So compile fourth.cpp and put the program in a file called fourth.
Yep.
And I'm going to run fourth, and it says in if. And that's because foo is true. Now if I change this to be false, and recompile, and then it doesn't print anything.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it would be really annoying if the only thing you could put between the parentheses was a Boolean variable. And so the creators of C originally decided that lots of things in the language can be evaluated as a Boolean.
Yeah.
So let's say I have an integer variable, and
Yeah.
I'm going to call it bar. And I'm going to set it equal to, I don't know, 42. Now, what do you think happens if I do that?
It's going to be true because it's positive.
Well, you know that because we had a conversation about this, but the people who are watching don't know this. Basically, for integers, everything is true except for 0. If I change that 42 to a 0, it won't execute the body of the if statement. as we learn more about C++, we're going to learn about lots of other data types. We're going to eventually learn about pointers, and it will be true for all these future data types that we're going to learn about that they're Boolean also.
Huh.
And you can use most of them inside of an if statement.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think, is there anything else that you need to know about if statement? Oh, there's a couple more things. Okay, so we have an if statement. If the thing in the parentheses is true, then we execute the body of the if statement. We can also have an else case.
Oh, that's in this?
Yeah,
That's cool.
so I can say
What
if,
is that in JavaScript?
else, and what this means is if whatever bar is evaluates the true, then go into the top thing. But if it doesn't evaluate the true, then go do the else. And C++ also supports else if. So you could say, right, and if bar is not true, it'll test and see if foo is true. And if foo is true, it'll go into that second set of braces.
Yeah.
And you can keep going forever.
Yeah.
Else if, else if, else if, else if. And the only thing you can't do is have multiple else's. Like you can't just say else and then another else. Like you couldn't do else, else,
No, that's impossible.
right? That doesn't make sense. We already did an else.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to show you something tricky.
Yeah.
There's a shortcut in C++ for an if-else statement.
Really?
Yeah, and it's called the ternary operator. And you're probably not going to use this for a while, but one day it'll be your best friend if you stick with this C++ stuff, because it really does save a bunch of typing. Let's say I have, here's an example. Let me get rid of this. Let's say I want to initialize bar to a different value depending upon if foo is true or if foo is false. Like let's say if foo is false, I want bar to be 42. Otherwise I want it to be 13. Okay?
Yeah.
So I can do this. So, what that says is create a variable called bar, and then set it equal to whatever this turns into, whatever this side over here turns into. Now, what does this side turn into? Well, first thing that happens is it tests, is foo equal to false?
Yeah.
Now, this is not an assignment equals, because it's two equals. It means it's a test. It's asking, is foo equal to false, right?
Yeah.
So if foo is equal to false, then return 42 into bar.
Yeah.
Else, return 13.
Huh.
So if I now say out bar,
Huh.
and if I change this to true,
Wow, that actually works. I'm surprised.
so you can see how much lines of code you saved, right? Because if I wanted to do this with an if-else, I'd have to say like int bar if foo equals false, equals 42, else bar equals 13.
I get it.
That's a lot of typing.
Yeah,
right?
that's a lot.
And look it, I got it into one line, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome savings. Now, I realized as I was typing that there was one more thing I should probably teach you about. And that is that in C++, if the thing that you want to do is only one, inside the braces, is only one statement long, you don't need the braces.
Huh.
So if you want, you can just get rid of that brace. I can get rid of that brace. I can get rid of that brace.
I actually didn't know how to do a multiple statement one, actually, for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't know about the braces?
Yeah, I thought you had to use a semicolon every time.
No. When you don't put semicolon on braces except for when you're declaring a class. But we'll talk about that later. But that's for doing, if the thing that you want to do is only one line long, then you don't need the braces.
Yeah.
What else? What else can we talk about with if statements? I think that might be it for if statements. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we won't make you wait as long before the next video.
Bye.
Bye.